Why is Tory Horton, the wide receiver from Colorado State, being so ignored right now? There's nothing, no conversations are happening around Tory Horton, the wide receiver from Colorado State. That is not a one time, but a two-time, and if he didn't get hurt in 2024, a three-time Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. And you'll say, Mountain West? Yes, the same one that Ashton Genty dominated in. Yes, the same guy in Tory Horton that had offers to leave Colorado State in the portal last year and take a big check to go to Kansas State. That guy, Tory Horton. We'll talk about him for the next 8 minutes here on the Draft Ranking Show every single day, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Cody Carpentier. I come here, I give you the action, I give you the news, the notes, draft, NFL draft, mock draft, rookie rankings, fantasy rankings, whatever it is, you name it. I'm here for it every single day, 7 a.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube and on podcast. If you're on pod, please go to the Draft Rankings podcast page, leave a 5-star review. It's all I ask. Leave a 5-star review, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, just click that subscribe button. Much appreciated. I love you guys. We got big news coming. We're gonna hit the 1,000 subscriber mark before the draft, before April 1st. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Let's jump into this Tory Horton thing because he is being slept on maybe more than any other receiver right now in the NFL draft. Tory Horton, know the name. He is my wide receiver 6 in the 2025 NFL draft cycle. And I've gotten a lot of flack for it in the last couple of days because a lot of people have Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, Isaiah Bond, Alec Amaner, Trey Harris, guys like this in that conversation. And I should put the caveat on here in my rankings. When I have Tory Horton as my wide receiver 6, it's really number 7 because I have Travis Hunter as like a pseudo. He's ranked, but he's not really ranked within the rankings. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6 in like fantasy football terms. For receiver terms in the NFL draft, it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just what it is. Hunter is the number 1 graded wide receiver in my system for the NFL. And for fantasy, he's the number 5, tied with Trey Harris. So technically, Horton is my receiver 7, if you count Travis Hunter, which you should. So Tory Horton's a guy that came in. We expected him to be 6'3", 6'3 and a half, about 180, 185 pounds. It was kind of a worrisome build, some might say, in kind of like historical comp situations. You're like, well, this is a guy that's extremely lanky. Is he going to be able to withstand the NFL from a weight perspective because of his BMI being so slight? He suffered a knee injury this past season, only played in 5 games, missed the majority of it. But the big thing is he came back from the injury, ran a 4.41 40 at the NFL Combine just last month, and he didn't measure in at 6'3", 185. Tory Horton measured in at 6'0", so 6'2" and 4/8, which is 6'2" and a half. 196 pounds, which is like 10 to 12, 15 pounds heavier than I expected. 77-inch wingspan, which is very strong. 4'4", 140. I expected a 4'47". This guy broke out at age 20. He had a 3.45 yards per route run number, which is 3rd in the entire class, behind Trey Harris from Ole Miss, who was maniacal, and behind Dante Thornton, who was a field stretcher for Tennessee with a 3.74. Tory Hilton was at 3.45. Some of my comps, Jordan Addison, Marvin Jones, I think Josh Reynolds. Also, some people forget who Josh Reynolds was at Texas A&M. Some comps for this prototype, which is Tory Horton. We're looking at 6'2", 6'3", and about that 196-pound range. So I kind of look at, up 5, down 5 when you're looking through comps. Guys that have run 4.41. Some busts that have hit through here. You got Van Jefferson, right? He was a 2nd-round pick. I also will caveat this with, I have a pretty aggressive grade on Tory Horton. I have a 2nd-round grade on Tory Horton. I was going into the Combine. You updated with the athleticism bump, the BMI bump. He's a high 2nd-round grade for me, and that's higher than anybody in anywhere. Any consensus anywhere, Tory Horton is nowhere near a 2nd-round conversation. If you go to the mock draft database, which is NFL mock draft ADP, Tory Horton's currently 120th overall. He's 2'4", 6'8", 10, 12, 14, the 16th wide receiver expected to be drafted after your Restrepos, your Ty Feltons, your Tez Johnsons of the world. If you go to Keep Trade Cut for fantasy football folk, he's the wide receiver 15 in rookie rankings, which is in dynasty terms, it's a big It's a big tier break in dynasty ranking wide receivers between Jack Besh from TCU at 124 in dynasty rankings down to Tory Horton at 168. That's the difference between wide receiver 14, wide receiver 15 in the rookies this year. I completely disagree with it. I believe that Horton should be considered like 100 spots higher in those guys' dynasty kind of purviews. In my personal dynasty rankings, you can get those over at rosterwatch.com. Tory Horton is right at 130 overall as a player. I love Tory Horton. Again, like he's a guy, I'm going to be insanely high on him, and it's just going to be that way. So the one thing I want to look up, and I was trying to talk through, was comps. So comps that fit his archetype that have run around that 4.41 area. They're 6'2", 6'3". They're between 195 and 200, or 100, I should say 190 to 200 pounds. We'll just put it that way. So top down, heaviest to lightest. We'll go. George Pickens ran a 4.47. He was 6'3", 200 pounds. He had an 18-year-old breakout. He's a second-round pick. Van Jefferson ran a 4.39. He had a 22-year-old breakout. Remember, Tory Horton was right in between there. He was a 20-year-old breakout. So we have the 18-year-old breakout in Pickens. We have a 22-year-old breakout in Van Jefferson. Both guys ran, 4.47, 4.39. They're both 6'2", 6'3", and 200 pounds. Some others in this conversation, if you remember DJ Chark, 6'3", 199. He's a 4.34 guy, broke out at age 20. Second-round pick was DJ Chark. DJ Chark was much more of a field-stretching type than is Tory Horton. CeeDee Lamb, first-round pick, obviously, 6'2", 198, 19-year-old breakout, 4.5, 40-yard dash. You go a little bit lighter. So let's go down towards like the 195 area. We have A.T. Perry from Wake Forest a couple of years ago. He was a sixth-round pick. I don't think Tory Horton lasts that long, even if I'm being completely like unfavorable to my grade. He was right there with a 4.47, 195 pounds. Josh Reynolds, who I talked about before, 6'3", 194 with a 4.52. He was a 19.6-year-old breakout. He was a fourth-round pick. And probably the light end of this, which is going to be closer to that 190 area, is going to be our Jerome Simpsons and John Hightowers, which was 6'2", 189, 4.43, 4.47. This is a second-round pick in Simpson, a fifth-round pick in John Hightower. So that's kind of your range of comp for Tory Horton. If you want to know a little bit more about Tory Horton, I did have a full write-up over at rosterwatch.com that you can go check out. We do write-ups for all of these top-end running backs and receivers over at RosterWatch. That's a fantasy-focused website where we do all that stuff. Otherwise, for Josh Reynolds, maybe that's the good comp for Tory Horton. Let me know in the comments who your comp is for Tory Horton, and if you think I'm way overextended on Tory Horton here. Very productive player in 2023. 96 receptions, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, first team All Mountain West, like I said. He's the only player, heard this, he's the only player in the FBS since 2020 to score a punt return touchdown in 3 separate seasons. 2022, 2023, 2024, he's averaged 12 yards per punt return on 26 attempts. And like I said, he has 3 punt return touchdowns on those 26 attempts. And he doesn't just do it against Mountain West opponents. He played Colorado in 2023. He didn't play Travis Hunter every snap, but he had 16 catches. 16 catches did Tory Horton. A lot of crossing routes, a lot of slants, but he can win downfield. He can stack players. He's a very lanky, long receiver, and I love that about Tory Horton, his ability to win downfield. He had 16 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown against Colorado. If you remember that Colorado State game from 2 years ago, I think a lot of people do remember that. But here's Tory Horton. He's my wide receiver 7 of the 2025 class. I'd love to know what you guys think. Drop a comment below. Tory Horton, the most slept on rookie wide receiver in the 2025 NFL draft. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Draft rankings, we out.